Well, good morning, dear friends. And welcome to our first, I'm not sure what to call it, our first coronavirus transmission reduction, empty Dharma hall, Sunday morning. Hello to those of you on, hang on. Oh, I'm good, I'm on. Yay. Please nod if you can hear me on Zoom. Yeah, great. Thank you. For those of you that are on the Ustream broadcast, if you'd like to join me on, I just got a text that someone didn't find the link on Connections. It's on Facebook now, too, thanks to Avi. We will do our best. I'll do my best to have this techno link work. It'll take maybe a little a try or two to get it smoothed out. Thank you, Ben, for being up in the choir loft. So I think first thing to do is sit for a little while, or first thing to do is light the candle. So this candle is in wonderful symbolism of our togetherness, and it's a beautiful symbol. We've had it since the beginning of the center, actually. And as the Sufis say, this lighter that I have here has potential. If I hold my thumb just in the right place and pull my finger back just right, the potential creates a flame, maybe. There it is. And similarly, the candle has a potential. It's wax and a wick, and if I put the flame close to the wick, it kindles the flame on the candle. And so something new emerges, something that it was built for emerges. And we're the same. If we do the right actions, we kindle awareness and compassion and love, and we can bring into being aspects of our humanity that are way deep inside, but then they become our character, our personality, and they affect our every action in the world. I got a wire underneath me here. There we go. So, in keeping with our tradition, please join me in singing the refuges. Let me just check the tuning here. So, go away. Trying to use this pedal in bare feet. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. There's some rollicking going on out there. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. And once more, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Well, so hello to those of you that are joining us on Ustream. If you'd like to join the Zoom viewing, look on your email, and there should be, and Gregory said there might not be, a link from Connections. Actually, Gregory, would you send that out to Connections? You could do that easily from where you are. And then you could join in on the visual part. It's helpful to me because I have some, oh my goodness, I have cats. A cat. So, strange times, huh? I must say, I like driving around now. It's like the old days in Portland. There's no traffic, or no traffic to speak of. And I think I want to begin with a couple of announcements that about what our intention is as a community, from the teachers and the board. We really want to stay as connected as we possibly can during this time. For many of us, PIMC is a kind of lifeline to connection and to being alive together and to sanity. I know the number of times I have walked in here and been kind of wilded out in my life, and then just come into the kitchen even and encounter someone, and being in community, in Sangha, is very stabilizing. So our intention is to make this to make as much contact as possible with you. Very high on the list is Dharma consults. If you'd like to meet with me or with one of the other teachers, I guess the best thing for now is to call Avi. That's probably the best. You all have that number. Also, check the website. the top three boxes, or maybe just under them, there will be lots of information about how to stay in contact. The Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night classes are all going to be offered on Zoom, and there will be a regular link that you'll click at the right time, and you'll be in that Zoom meeting. We haven't figured out quite how to do it yet, but there's been several folks who've been offering to help. And so if you just stay tuned with that, but if you wind up being stuck at home, like shut in, you can't go out, we could probably set up some kind of a grocery delivery service from community members. If you get sick, let me know. At least let me know, please. You can do that via my email, robert@portlandinsight.org. And then there's there's our announcement list, which is constant contact, and there's the connections list. If you're not on them, you can get on them very easily by going to the home page and looking over to the right, and I think it's the first box. And you can just click there and follow the instructions, and you'll then be hooked in. Okay. So, let's do what we do best. Nothing. Let's just sit here for, let's say, half an hour. I'll say a few words of encouragement, but mostly I'll be quiet. So come home to the body where it touches the cushion or the chair. Notice the fact of consciousness, the fact that it's possible for you to direct awareness toward now your hands. What the mind encounters, what awareness encounters, is life. Life in the garb of hand. Or we could direct awareness into the face, and there's life. It needs no name, no descriptor. And since the moment of your birth, when you took that first gasping breath, there's the breath. The breath that occurs in one moment, only one moment, which is now. And each breath has its beginning, its birth, its rising to fullness, its decline, and then its vanishing. How intimate can you be with this breath? How intimate dare you be with this breath? The mind, of course, the untrained mind, has lots of things to say and do. You may well find thoughts of the past and future, waves of emotion, analysis, liking, disliking. Fortunately, there's really nothing that needs to be done. When awareness notices the mind somewhere, doing something, the space is already present. The capacity of simply being with the chosen primary object, the breath, is already there. So relaxing back into the silence of the empty, aware mind in which everything happens. it takes a certain quality of effort, an effort not of the muscles, but of mind, to remember, to be mindful of the beginning of the breath. And then there's a certain slightly different effort to stay with the sensations of breathing through the trajectory up and then down. And again, it doesn't require any tightening of muscles. So if your forehead is wrinkled or your gut is tight, soften that. Just let it go. Be here with breathing in and breathing out, in the company of your community. time and again, and again and again. We sit here in excellent conditions for awakening. Few distractions externally. A certain experience of Sangha. Our refuges in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And appreciating in gratefulness the safety of the moment, that you're most probably pretty comfortable, warm. You had breakfast this morning. It's a beautiful day here in Portland, sunny. Hopefully your health is good. We have each other. Optimal conditions for awakening. There's really no predicting what will arise when we sit. just as there was no predicting the coronavirus. We did know something like this would happen sometime. And just as we don't know what course it's going to take in the community, we don't really know what course our mental experiences, our physical experiences will be. As I found out some months ago with a numb foot and hand and face on an airplane, suddenly my life took such a different course. And with the teachings of the Buddha, we get to ride things out with much less turmoil and strife, less suffering for the people around us. It is the mind's nature to think and plan and wander. In time, with practice, we get more skillful at dealing with it. Just as we will become more skillful in dealing with COVID-19. We become better in dealing with it by looking directly into it, by experiencing the heart-mind and all its activities as openly and fully as we can. How intimate dare you be with this breath, with this body, with these thoughts? Can you let the gap diminish to zero? So the world becomes the sensations of the arising and passing away of the breath. quite possibly some discomfort emerges. At first, we simply notice it and then come back to the breath or soften into simple presence. But if a discomfort persists, we then become very curious. Turn awareness toward the discomfort and notice the stories that are in the mind about it and the valence, the feeling tone, liking, disliking. And as we come to the end of this period of sitting together, please take a moment to notice what's this half an hour of silence, relative silence, been like for you. Has the mind been quiet and subdued and tranquil and at ease? Or has it been worrying or struggling or planning? How is your body right now? Specifically, not so much the words about it, but what are the sensations? What's the posture? And now easing ourselves into a little stretch, perhaps. Whew. What is it that wants the stretch, and how does it let you know? Moving mindfully. Being present and alive in the stretching. I just remembered, I can't remember where it was. I think it was here. It was in this hall. Very recently I taught everybody, and we did together the little song from Ruth Denison that she loves so much. It's I'm forgetting the musician who did it. She lives in Alaska. Anyway, Ruth does the little song, stay close. You're standing, stay close to the ground. And then live close to the earth, and you touch the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know we are alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. We do that with ourselves for a while, and then we start doing it with partners. Not in the era of social distancing, of course. We would do air touches. I said, well, we can do it here. Here, hi. These are, for us, unusual times. And unusually, it's a planetary phenomenon. It's happening all over the world at the same time. And it reminded me, as I was thinking, what could I possibly talk about today that could be of use? And one thing is encouragement to use the practice, to dive in, to spend more time. If you're home a lot, sit more. Sit an hour a day. Sit 2 hours a day. Do walking meditation. Knit mindfully. And to rein in the mind that would like to go crazy about this. There's a lot of craziness. People are being quite nutty out there in the world, out of fear, of course. But I remembered about the vicissitudes of life. The Buddha spoke about the vicissitudes. It's a great word. And how life's nature is, it's polarized from pleasure, pain, gain, loss, fame, disrepute, success, failure, health, sickness. That's the nature. It's a sine wave, basically. And a lot of us here in the West, in the wealthy West, we've been shielded from a lot. The people in northern Syria, for some years now, have seen crisis, chaos, bombs dropping on them. And it's not new in the world. I was talking to the group yesterday, the Remembering Death group, and I considered maybe if I get my technology together, I'll show you some slides of this. But some years ago, my daughter Tara and I visited Turkey, had a wonderful time in Turkey, and we went to central Turkey to a place called Cappadocia, where you can visit. There's a city, an underground city called Derinkuyu, where they have unearthed. It's a small town, more than a city, but there are 100 of these in that valley, actually, and they're connected underground. And to get into them, you have to squat down very tight to get through, and there's a big rock that they can roll in to close the entrance. And they brought their food down there and their animals one layer up near the surface. And they would go in there when the armies came, because the armies came across that plateau endlessly. Alexander the psychopath, from what I learned in Turkey, I realized I couldn't call him Alexander the Great. He was not a great man. He was a very sick man. But they would hide, and they would do this, and then they could hide, and they couldn't be accessed. And they had food down there and water. They even had a place where they would keep bodies. It kind of drove our guide crazy that I went and lay down in the body hole. I was like, don't do that. But life is utterly unstable, and this crisis that we're having with the coronavirus is kind of normal for us humans. This stuff happens. And we will weather it. Some of us will get sick. Possibly some of us will die. Certainly in the culture, some people will die. And so we're doing our best to keep ourselves safe, and also with the social distancing, there's this whole notion of reducing the curve so the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. And so that's, you all know that, why we're meeting as we are. I was recently given this beautiful little book, The First Free Women, Poems of the Early Buddhist Nuns. And I wanted to read a couple of these for us. I had one. Let me just check this to see if it's of help. Incoming message. Oh, good. The entire path and all you will ever need to walk it, you will find inside. So the Buddha taught me. Once I took a closer look, all the running around started to seem a little silly. Things changed so quickly. By the time I got anywhere, I'd be somebody else. You are your mother. You are your daughter. One moment gives birth to the next. What we do is who we become. The entire path and all you will ever need to walk it, you will find inside. So the Buddha taught me. Once I took a closer look, all the running around started to seem a little silly. Things changed so quickly. By the time I got anywhere, I'd be someone else. You are your mother. You are your daughter. One moment gives birth to the next. What we do is who we become. Reminds me of the contemplation of I am of the nature to age, sicken, and die. All that I love, everything I love, dear and beloved, will become separated from me. And then I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, abides, support. It goes on and on about karma, about our actions, because that's who we become. And then this is a very interesting one. Anonymous. I was young when I left home, and for years I rambled around my practice, sitting, walking, and hoping. At first everything was new. I didn't notice my skin drying up or my hair turning gray. Then one morning, there I was, an old woman. Where had I gotten in all those years on the path? That night I slept out in the field, and it rained. I felt like I belonged there, miserable and alone in the mud. In the morning I went to the nearest monastery and threw myself down. A nun took me in and taught me this body, this mind, this world, where they come from and where they go, what they are and what they are not. That night I went out to sit in the field, and it rained. I felt like I belonged there. Every drop of water was telling me I was home. Don't worry, my sisters. When the road reaches its end, you will know it. And there's one more here. Oh. After our wedding, my husband and I put on robes together and soon went our separate ways. Not exactly what most would call a honeymoon. Is that what love looks like? Maybe, when you see what love is and what it isn't. Marriage is hard. The good times come and go. True love doesn't throw a curtain over the whole world and imprison whoever it cares about the most on an empty stage. When the mind is free, it's free of expecting more than is reasonable from any one person. After our wedding, my husband and I put on robes together and soon went our separate ways. It's a great opening stanza. After our wedding, my husband and I put on robes together and soon went our separate ways. Not exactly what most would call a honeymoon. Is that what love looks like? Maybe when you see what love is and what it isn't. Marriage is hard. The good times come and go. True love doesn't throw a curtain over the entire world and imprison whoever it cares about the most on an empty stage. When the mind is free, it's free of expecting more than is reasonable from any one person. So there's a wonderful theme in this book. It's a book of Buddhist teachings. The first free women. Why really do we meditate? What really is the aspiration? And of course it's to calm down, to be more relaxed, to be psychologically more stable. And fundamentally it's about setting ourselves free from identification with the vicissitudes. If you're afraid in this time, of what are you afraid? During one of the exercises we did yesterday, it became very clear to me that one of my conditioned concerns is, well, I'm 72 years old. Whenever I get sick, it goes to my lungs. So I'm a vulnerable person, relatively. So then there's that fear of death. What if I died? And then what comes to mind are my loved ones and PIMC. And then there was a realization that kind of suffused itself into my awareness, which was, it's all temporary. I'm going to say goodbye to all my loved ones. I will say goodbye to this place. There will be a last time I'm here. And that's just normal. And I don't want it to be now. So I want to control the outcome. I don't want it to be soon. I want to cling to these experiences that are promised or possible in the future. And that very clinging, that's the suffering. And I would guess that most of you that are tuned into this, certainly into the Zoom meeting, will be familiar with what I'm about to say. And if you folks would like to turn on your cameras, that'd be nice for me. It's okay if you don't. You might be in your PJs, I suppose. But what I want to say is the very first and probably most important thing that the Buddha taught. Life is exactly as it is. And our suffering is caused by the mind's wanting things to be different. I don't want to die. I don't want to not be able to have the hall full of people. I want to be with my child. Think about it. What About what are you suffering around this coronavirus thing? Oh, so many of us are affected financially, and sometimes some in huge ways. I don't want to face this anxiety of financial survival, or I'm afraid for my child. If we notice those, they always have in them something that either I want or I don't want. And that's very sensible and normal, and we need to plan and so on. And with our practice, we can also at least have moments when we realize, oh, it's happening as it's happening. I can do what I can do, and then I can rest back into acceptance, and at least not continue to incur and encourage more and more suffering. That's the teachings. Then there's the fourth noble truth, ennobling truth, is the path, the Eightfold Path. So there's suffering, there's its cause, which is in the human mind, and then there's the sweet relief of recognizing, as these nuns write so beautifully, it's okay. Even the tragedies become what we perceive as the tragedies when things don't go according to our script. They're so normal. It's a strange way to think, isn't it? That having a new virus sweeping the planet is really normal. Getting sick oneself is normal. It's what happens to us. So this is kind of an experiment this morning. I have a couple of other things I might say, but I think I would like to try, since we have two-way here, I'm going to open up the microphones for those of you on Zoom, if I can. Let me see if I can do it. How do I do it? Invite, open chat, manage. Here we are. All of your microphones are unmuted. So if anyone has a comment or a question about what I've just said, or also about how we're going to manage this as a community, please just speak up boldly. Yes, right here, right now, right here. You need to get close to the microphone, I think, to make it work. I'm not sure this will work. Let's try this. I'm going to turn on the chat. How about let's try that? I'm going to turn off the mic. Please bear with the experiment. So, I am awaiting if there is anything coming from there. Everyone publicly and privately merged to meeting. Okay. I wonder if I have it on right. Oh dear, how funny. If any of you that have your cameras on would like to say something, wave, and I'll turn on your mic. All right, it's a quiet crowd. Oh, chat. The sound is a little muffled, too many links. Okay, well, it's off now. I turned off all the mics. Okay, well, that being what it is, oh. Hey, Ben, how can you be down here and up there? A story for our moment. Those of you that were here yesterday will remember this. We're leaving our time now. We are leaving our time. We're going into mythological time, or time before time was captured and placed in small boxes on our wrists, before numbers shone at us in the night from everywhere we went in our house. At any rate, we're going to the time when Lord Vishnu was sitting on his throne, and before him sat Vishvakraman. Vishvakraman was a seeker. He'd been meditating and learning for decades. And he said to Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, you have told me about your samsara, this wheel of birth and death, and the truth of this coming into being and going out of being. Please show me. I'm ready. Please show me the truth of your samsara. Vishnu said, nope, you're not ready. Vishvakraman pleaded a second time, please, please, tell me the truth. Show me the truth of your samsara. And Vishnu said, nope. He pleaded a third time, and Vishnu said, well, all right, you're not really ready, but I'll give you a glimpse. But before that, I need a drink. Would you please go and get me a drink of water? And if you go to the side exit over here and look outside, you will see in the distance there's a little grove of trees, and I know there's a well there. Would you please go get me a glass of water? So Vishvakraman set out and made his way. It took him a little while. And when he got there, he saw that there was a very beautiful young woman standing by the well. And he asked her, young lady, would you please give me a glass of water? And she said, oh, I'd be delighted. And she reached over and got a glass and filled it with beautiful, cold, clear water and handed it to him, but they didn't practice careful social distancing. And their hands touched. And something happened. Something happened. And the young woman said, sir, our village has some difficulties, and my father is the head man, and I think you could help us if you'd be willing. And Vishvakraman thought, well, okay, I might as well, Nice opportunity to do some service, build some merit. And so they went, and I'm telling you the pretty short version of this today, because. And they went to the village, and lo and behold, Vishvakraman really had the proper skill sets. He was really good at, Microsoft Excel and building and interpersonal communications and conflict resolution. And the village really welcomed him. And as you can guess, of course, he and the young woman had actually fallen in love back at the well, but it grew, and they wound up marrying. And so life went on in the way that it goes on. Seasons came, seasons went, years came and went. And along the way, of course, they got pregnant. And they had a little baby, a beautiful little girl. And that little girl did everything the way little children are supposed to. At age 1, she was walking, and then she was talking, and everything unfolded as it's supposed to unfold. And then when she was 2, another baby came along, a beautiful little boy. He was a rambunctious tyke. And so it went, and then a few years later, there was yet another child. And year after year, life got better and better. The economy was stable. Things were good. And then one day, Vishvakraman was up on a viewing platform that they had on top of the house, a lovely place to have tea. And he looked off to the west, and there was a bank of clouds that were just totally black. I once saw a bank of clouds like that when a hurricane was coming into Mexico, and I was on the coast. And it came in, and the wind struck at very high speed, and the rain started to fall, and the rain was falling particularly in the mountains. And then flash flooding started, and the water came zooming into the town. And it got up to their front doorstep and into the downstairs, into the kitchen and living room. And they headed upstairs. They thought, oh no, this is really a drag. We're going to lose a lot of stuff, but we'll be okay. But in this story, the water kept rising and rising. And it got up to the second floor, and they wound up going up those stairs to the platform on top of the house. And rather soon, the water got up to there too, and they were standing there knee-deep in water with their 3 children. And they were hoping that the Coast Guard or someone would come. Someone would come with a boat, but the water then got up to their waist, up to their chest, and they were holding the children, and they were quite frightened. The wind was howling. And then a tree had broken loose, and it came swirling its way toward them. And they tried to duck, but it captured the mother who had the smallest child in her arms. And Vishvakraman watched as she drowned, right before his eyes. And he was waiting, hoping something would come he could hold on to and float, but nothing came. And in the end, he set off trying to swim with these 2 children, and it was very difficult. And again, a tree came along and buffeted him under the water, and he felt as both children were pulled away from him. And so he swam. He was desolate, but he kept trying to stay alive, and then he got sucked under. And he woke up at the feet of Vishnu, who said, "Did you bring my glass of water?" Samsara. Samsara is the world, is the wheel of birth and death. And we, of course, become very habituated to this side of it, where there's life and where there's a certain sense of agency and we forget. That's the reason that so much of the Buddhist teachings are about the contemplations of death. The endless reflections on impermanence, anicca. When in the last 6 months, I've been through this whole medical crisis with having a stroke and then having an aneurysm clipped and major surgery, long recovery. It's changed me. I talk about my heart being tenderized, that there's a softerness about me. And also, and I don't have very good words for it, but anicca, impermanence, it's so clear to me that it is utter. It's not partial, it's total. And so all the structures that we form, all the relationships that we form, they're all dust in the wind. They all come into being, and therefore when they come into being and when we have them, why not cherish them? And it's funny, talking to this empty hall, I just had a very clear imagination of the hall being full of you. That was nice. So to learn how to really be present with each other in those times when we can be present, when we can really connect. And also to realize the preciousness of that which is made more clear by the impermanence. Who would have thought 6 months ago that we'd be meeting like this? We didn't know. Who would have thought, I wouldn't have thought, coming home from my retreat at Hollyhock that suddenly I'd have a stroke? Who would have thought it? So we're in a period of a lot of learning. And I've met some people who are pretty depressed. I've met almost everyone who's somewhat anxious. I met a person or two who were desperate. So what to do? Why not really take our practice out of the bag and fluff it out and really make good use of it? If there's anxiety, to notice, so where is this anxiety in anybody? What's the story that's being told? Oh, and another, to be careful how much news you take in. Because there's so much frightening news, so many opinions, and it doesn't take much reading to realize that, well, yes, I should be minimizing social contact, and when we should wash our hands and do the things that we need to do to minimize our exposure. But then there's the accepting things as they are. I think of the Serenity Prayer. Remember from the 12-step world? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I think I want to pause there. And I think I'm going to do this. Try this. Let's try this. If you'd like to make a comment, please email me, robert@portlandinsight.org. And I'm going to sit here quietly and see if anything happens from that. And if it doesn't, I think we'll do a little loving kindness practice and then end. So, and I'm going to turn on the chat. The chat is on here. Okay, so you folks at home on Zoom could chat. Actually, I'm going to try opening the audio. Hello there. Anybody want to say anything or ask anything? Okay. Closing up. Oh. Hello. Huh. This is not very functional. Bye. Okay. So the chat is, oh, here we are. Might help for folks to mute their individual. Oh, that's a good idea. Please mute your individual microphones until you're ready to speak. Good idea. I'm going to unmute all just for fun. See?
This is Jeannie. I'd like to ask David what's for
Jeannie, you'd like to ask David something? Jeannie? Huh. Hard to hear. Okay, I'm going to close up this. Whoa, that's loud. Hang on. How do I do it? Manage for... Oh, there's 16 people on here. No wonder it's so noisy. I'm trying to find...
More about Cappadocia. It feels like we found a modern...
We found what?
It feels like we found a modern equivalent of Cappadocia. The analogy was very meaningful this morning.
Okay, I'll speak a little more about it. Thank you, Adam. I'm trying to figure out how... What was that? No. Okay, I'm going to mute. What to say about Cappadocia? It's really Portland. The tenderization of my heart that's happened, here's the sadness, is the realization of how similar we all are, and how those people who lived in Cappadocia, the way that one of the reasons it was so attractive was that if you have a steel or an iron adze, not an axe, but an adze, and you whack at the soil, it's sort of like rock, but you can actually cut into it rather easy, so you can create tunnels quite easily, and then the new cut gets oxidized and turns very hard. And so one can create dwellings underground. And there's also very strange structures. There's these giant penis-shaped rocks, which makes for great photography in the valleys, that are sometimes 200 feet high. And that people would make an entrance and then they would live up in them, and people still live in them. We went to a hotel in one of them, and the mold was so bad I didn't last more than an hour. But anyway, people made their dwellings, and they were highly vulnerable people, and so they would have to go underground. And there was fear of war, and there was a lot of war. And we've lived in a period of relative peace for us for some time, but it's not stable. I am of the view that our democracy is at risk and highly vulnerable right now, and that's happened hundreds of times on the planet too, that social systems crumble. And then there's periods of chaos, and then there's order again, and it's the norm for us human beings to struggle with getting along together. And then along come these plagues and so on that really challenge us. And of course we also have this monster of planetary climate change. So what else are we going to do? I mean, we can be active to whatever degree we are in that, but why not dive into our practices? Why not dive into your practice? Take this as a time to really make a different commitment. And the commitment that arises when we realize that it's all temporary. And so where shall I take refuge? Well, why not the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? So let me check my email, see if anything came through there. Email, cancel, delete. And we will figure out, lots. Let me see here. Thank you. Oh, what is the Zoom link? I'm sorry, I can't tell you over the... Okay. Kimberly, watching on Ustream, couldn't find the Zoom link. Smiling toward you in the community, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. From Tia. Oh, that's so sweet. Italians are playing music together from their balconies in solidarity. That gets me. Oh, this is small print here. From Jeff. Some people I know are not very concerned about this virus. They're continuing to live their lives as if nothing is really different, as if they're going to be just fine. I don't have a problem with this, and I think that we all need to make our own decisions and calculate risk in whatever way that makes sense. Perhaps we have to make space for a variety of reactions. On the other hand, I've heard a lot of people who say the most compassionate thing to do is stay home, so we don't inadvertently spread the virus and infect others. Staying home is being presented as a kind of bodhisattva activity. What do you think? Huh. It really is a question of what is our responsibility to each other, and I know what popped to mind as I read that was the University of Oregon is closed, and the schools, and the public schools here. And my stepdaughter, Nina, who's 18 and going to U of O, came home and will be home for some weeks. And it occurred to me that we are suddenly profoundly more at risk because she's not going to, she will curtail her activities to some degree, but she'll be out there being in the world. And that could be a very costly thing for me. But we're not going to say you can't be with your friends. So one could, I suppose. I bet they're doing that in some places in the world. But it does clearly come down to our own individual deciding how much responsibility do I have for others? I felt a lot of responsibility being the person, ultimately. It was a board decision and the teachers, but when I sent out the email closing down PIMC, it felt like an action that had to do with protecting all of us. So, interesting at the level of government, and governments around the world, when they are shutting down, closing down all restaurants and things like that. Big decisions that affect people's lives. So thank you, Jeff. That's a question worthy of chewing on. Let me see this. Oh, this is interesting. Could you speak about how the breath metabolizes fear or some such thing? I had a lot of opportunity to work with fear with my brain surgery. When I came out of anesthesia, 6 hours of anesthesia, they gave me a drug, Keppra, which is tolerated by many or most people very well, but it really put me towards psychosis. And I had this delusion that I had to solve. there was a problem and I had to solve it, but I didn't have enough mindfulness to stabilize the mind to really even ask the question. And so I couldn't solve the problem, and if I didn't solve the problem, I would die. And there was this terror. It was just awful, just awful. And every in-breath, it would come into my chest and solar plexus. And I also didn't have any stability of mind to work with it very well. So it was really a hell realm until they got me off the drug that I had such a bad reaction to. But then once I was off it, there was this terror. And the way that I worked with it then, because I once again had my practice, was to really turn toward it and acknowledge this is terror. And just awful, and nausea. I was very nauseated for a couple or 3 days. And so with the breath, in response to your question, I would use the breath for stability and tranquility and a home base. And after all these years, my capacity to come home to the breath when I'm not off in anesthesia land or painkillers particularly. And so I would use the breath to stabilize awareness and then turn toward the terror, anxiety, fear. And that gradually it metabolized it, it was incorporated, and it no longer was so, at first it became just less problematic, and then over time, it took a couple of weeks of working with it frequently, it then gradually diminished and became, quote, normal. So, paying attention to the physiology, paying attention to the thoughts, and really accepting, and it just worked its way through. I hope that's a help. Hello, Doug Pullen. Liz. Oh, this is from Liz. Liz Bryant in, I forget, Tucson. No, not. Anyway, I've been stealing glances at my phone as my daughter-in-law is in labor in Oakland in the midst of a virus hotspot, and I don't know when or if I will meet my grandchild other than virtually. Dukkha. Here we are in Cappadocia. Okay. Oh, this is a different thing. Business email. Oh. Do you realize that 55 people are watching on the regular stream from the website? Great company. Sharon in Tucson. I guess the Zoom link didn't go as I thought it did. We'll clean that up. We'll figure that out. We'll get them posted to the website. Whew, well, I'm feeling like there's a lot of us here. I hope it's working that way for you. I want to do the announcements again and then end with a little loving kindness practice. We're going to get the Zoom, this is working pretty well, but we'll get it sorted out, and I think I'm going to encourage us to broadcast live to Zoom, to Ustream, and also possibly to Facebook. So it may be possible to do all three of those. Please go look at the webpage in the next day or two or three, because there will be more information coming out about how to connect with these different, on the different evenings. The Tuesday evening Wednesday evening and Thursday evening with different teachers. While I remember here, if this goes on longer than I hope, I will be offering my class on the Dhammapada online. I'm not sure what Doug will do with that, but that will all emerge. Dharma consults. If you want to talk with one of the teachers, call Avi. Or look at you can also email Gregory. Look at there's an announcement that I sent out that perhaps you can find it. And one of the teachers will be happy to talk with you online or by phone. And be generous with yourself, right? I was very wholehearted support of that from the community. If you're not on the listserv, the connections link, or the constant contact, they're both available on the home page. First block on the right, you go down the list and you click on them and you can get yourself in. And if you're sick, please let me know, robert@portlandinsight.org. And during this time also, the center is going to need your financial support as we keep the place working. So there will be a new link, but the easiest way right now is if you go to the website and you look up at the top right-hand corner and there's a button that says donate. So please remember that even though you're not coming here, we are making the whole thing continue to run. And how important it is, right? How precious that we get to continue to support one another. And I just got another email. Let's see. Oh. Julie, I'm so grateful to you in PIMC, especially now. I've been talking to my dad, who is an infectious disease doctor, daily, and I highly advise you to have Nina not go out with her friends. Well, there you have it. Maybe we'll be more boundaried. Dukkha in many forms. Well, let's do this. The great Buddhist anxiety reducer. So please find your way to be comfortably upright. Push the button. Now please let these thoughts roll over and over in your consciousness. I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. Is this true? I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken. I am of the nature to fall ill. Is this true? I am of the nature to die. I am of the nature to die. I've not gone beyond dying. Is this true? Is this really true for me? I am of the nature to die. All that is mine, dear and beloved, all that is mine, everyone, dear and beloved, will become separated from me. Is this true? Is it really true? I am the owner of my karma. I am the owner of my intentional actions. I become how I act. I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Is this true? Thus should we frequently recollect, said the Buddha. Or a short, catchy version. My death is certain. The time of my death is uncertain. Place of my death is uncertain. The way of my death is uncertain. How then shall I lose? How then shall I live my life today? The time, my death is certain. The time, place, way is uncertain. How then should I live my life today? So, please think of someone that it's really easy to love. In Asia, they'd start with oneself. But so many of us have difficulty with that. So someone who's been really loving to you in your lifetime, just allow them to be present in your imagination and notice the natural, I hope this person is happy and healthy. May they be happy. It's not just happy. Happy is such a slippery word. May they receive all blessings is the actual translation. Let a little smile come to your lips, perhaps. May this person be protected and safe. And then feel your own body. Feel the aliveness here. This precious, one-of-a-kind body that you get to inhabit for a little while. You get to enliven. May this person receive all blessings. May I remember my true nature. May I face the vicissitudes of life with grace and with patience. And think of someone else now, someone who it's still pretty easy to love. Wish them well. Incline your heart toward their well-being. Of course you wish them well. As soon as we get beyond our tight thinking and our holding on to old grievances, of course we love this other person because we are so intimately connected. And then think of a friend. Maybe let their name come into consciousness and maybe an image, and surround them with white light or golden light, or imagine hugging them. I suppose that's quite adequate social distance. Wish them well. And to your family, partner, children, friends, colleagues, wish them well. And there's so many ways to do this. You could imagine light surrounding them, or you could just connect to the warmth in your own heart and surround them with that. Or whatever prayer or wish comes to your heart. And let's not forget those beings that we cherish as what we think of as our enemies. They too are really just ordinary human beings who really long to be loved. Wishing them well. I just remembered a song. I wish Doyle was here because he can sing it in key. It was I can't remember her name. A lovely young woman who came and did kirtan one time. Anyway, the song goes something like this. Lie back in the arms of love. Rest back in the arms of love. Lie back in the arms. You are safe from harm. Lie back in the arms of love. Sometimes with loving kindness practice, I think of it as that. It's just we rest back into our common beingness. So, dear friends, I invite you to join me with your hands together and to do the chant that we usually do with the children. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all beings everywhere benefit from our practice. Please do take really good care of yourselves and your loved ones, and may we all be safe. And I am quite receptive if you want to communicate with me via email, robert@portlandinsight.org. I may not be able to respond in depth to questions, but I will do my best, and that would also help me know what to talk about when I'm here. All right, dear ones. Safe journeys, and may this pass rather quickly, this time of isolation. Goodbye, friends on Zoom.
Thank you, Robert.
Oh, I got sound again. Thanks, Adam. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you all. Oh, they all got sound. That's great. How nice of you to...